Hi everyone, welcome back to my little corner of the internet, and today we're gonna do something a little different. As some of you may know, I went to a Hanabie concert recently. Well, I didn't go to a Hanabie concert. I went to a music festival and Hanabie were there, which is why I mentioned that I would accidentally see Hanabie. Basically, I bought the tickets for the music festival around like 5 months back, and that's way before I knew about Hanabie. And then after I listened to them and I looked at this the lineup again, I saw that they were there, and I was like, oh my god, cool. So, hooray! I got a bonus band to watch. So here we are. Because you guys kind of went on this journey with me, I thought I would share with you basically the concert experience. That way, if you're curious about how concerts are in Japan, then you might get something out of it. So yeah, let's go through the whole concert day and everything. And if this is the kind of video that you would like to see more of, please just let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to do that. I have a few more concerts lined up for the rest of this year and next year. Not that many. It sounds like it's like 2. But yeah. Anyway, let's get to it. So, the music festival I went to was Nex Fest 2023, which is a music festival, but basically it was part of Bring Me the Horizon's Japan tour. They had 4 concerts, and their website for this event was so annoying because it made it look like they bookended the festival, the tour with Tokyo dates, but it was actually not. That way they ended the tour with. This is completely unrelated to the tour itself. It's just, it was annoying the way it was set up. I'll show you. But basically, first concert was actually in Kobe on Halloween, October 31st. Also, yes, I am aware that we are past Halloween. Let me have it. I worked hard on this, okay? So yes, the first concert was in Kobe and they called it an extra. And the bands that were there were I Prevail, Yungblud, Babymetal, and Bring Me the Horizon. They followed that up in Nagoya on November 1st, and the lineup was identical. I Prevail, Yungblud, Babymetal, and Bring Me the Horizon. Then they had the Nex Fest, like the actual music festival, and that was November 3rd, which is when I went. It was at Makuhari Messe. They say it's Tokyo. We'll put a pin in that. But this one had, it opened with this DJ, I think. Her name is Alice Longyu Gao. So I think she's Chinese. Then there was a Japanese band called Yoasobi, Hanabie, I Prevail, a band that I cannot read the font for, Maximum the Hormone, VMO, Yungblud, Cult, Babymetal, Pale Dusk, and Bring Me the Horizon. So it was a packed day. Finally, after this music festival was sold out, they added an extra Tokyo day, which broke my heart because I already had the other ticket, and that one had Cold Rain, Crossfaith, Hyde, Babymetal, and Bring Me the Horizon. I was upset, to say the least. But I committed and I could only go to one day, so I already had the ticket. So that is the whole tour. So as I mentioned, I went to a Tokyo day. Now, here's the thing you need to know about Japan. Most of the things that are held in Tokyo are not actually in Tokyo. It is a very annoying thing that you realize once you live here. And it is very, very funny when you have a mix of bands that are foreign and Japanese, because you hear the difference on how they approach the crowd. Foreign bands will be like, "What's up, Tokyo? Oh my god, Tokyo, you're the best. Make some noise, Tokyo." You know, all of that. Japanese bands would tend to be more specific to the location. They would either say the name of the festival, or they'll say the name of the city or the event hall. And in this case, the whole festival took place in an event hall called Makuhari Messe, which is in Chiba, not in Tokyo. Anyway, it's the same place that Summer Sonic takes place in, kind of. It's a massive convention hall structure type of place, and it has a million different halls and venues. And so this one specifically, it's the Makuhari Messe 9, 10, 11. It's just this giant hangar, and most of the rock and metal shows that are big take place there, because like it's this giant rectangle that they can just maneuver to whatever shape they want on the inside. It's very convenient for that. Not the most convenient in terms of location, because it is on the same train line as Disneyland, which makes that train completely chaotic. We'll get to that towards the end. I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, I'll just walk you through my day because that's how I report my concerts. I had a plan in mind. I was planning to see Hanabie, Maximum the Hormone, Yungblud, Babymetal, and Bring Me the Horizon. Those were the bands I was planning to see. If I got to see some bonus ones, great, but honestly, with how it was set up, I was like, this is perfect. I don't need anything more. This is good. I did want to try and get a tour shirt because I like having, some sort of memorabilia, and t-shirts have all of the bands in the back, so it's kind of fun to reminisce that way. Hanabie's show started at 12:30. I knew that the goods would go on sale from 8:30 in the morning, but I had no intention of getting there at that time. I was like, I'll get to the venue around 11:30. I'll have an hour, get my stuff, and then go straight to see Hanabie. I ended up arriving a little before 11, and the venue itself is around like a 10-minute walk from the station. So we're walking, and then I see this massive snake line, and this a staff person holding a sign saying Nex Fest to another line. So I'm just a little confused. They're announcing on like a loop that this line is for something, I can't catch it, but then they're like, well, if you have regular tickets or gold tickets or whatever, go to the other line. I'm like, okay, I'll go there. Also, those announcements are only in Japanese, so kind of annoying, but that's, you're in Japan, that's the language, so you gotta deal. So I go into the massive blob, and it is the hottest day, November 3rd, and I am drenched in sweat and I want to die. And I don't know why, because it's November. I'm in this massive blob and it is constantly moving. It's fine. And then there's these stairs that you go down to reach the ticket area and the actual venue, because we're on like a bridge at this point. And that's when I realized that the giant snake line was actually the goods line. Shit. Okay. So I was planning on buying a t-shirt for myself and for my friend who was going to see YOASOBI, who are performing before Hanabie. So I was like, okay, I'll get out of my line and try and find the end of the goods line. And then I realized, once I'm out of my line and I start to walk, there is no end to the good line. It doesn't exist. It goes on forever. It wraps around the earth. I don't know where it ended. And no t-shirt in the existence of mankind has ever been worth standing in that line. So I told my friend, sorry, it's not gonna happen. I'm not willing to go through that for a t-shirt. And so I went back into the blob for a second time around. It was the dumbest thing. Anyway, go through the blob. I'm able to go down. I passed my ticket. And here's the thing, that it didn't used to happen in music festivals. It only used to happen in regular small concerts. But now, on top of the exorbitant price of your ticket and the ticket fees and the processing fees, even though you have, an electronic ticket on your phone, you have to pay a drink ticket, a separate price. This one specifically was 600 yen. Once upon a time, before the world devolved, it used to be 500 yen. And whenever you went to, not clubs, but live houses, the Zep Tokyo, what it's called now, Spotify O East, it used to be called Staya O East, whatever, all of these smaller but still very prominent venues had a separate drink ticket. It was 500 yen, very easy because it's a one coin thing. And then prices went up, taxes went to 600 yen. Not Fest were greedy little with 700 yen. I don't drink alcohol. I had to buy a 700 yen water bottle. So that was fantastic. Dumbest thing alive. But whatever. That's the price. I just included as the price of my ticket. You get that. We get into the venue. You got the food trucks on one side. You go in and there's the official bar. There's a photo op if you want. There's this really cute gallery looking area with all of the bands performing that day. That was really cute. I took some pictures of that. And then there's the church stage, which is the smaller stage where the quote-unquote smaller bands would play, and that's where Hanabie was gonna play. On the left-hand side, there's the main stage, and it's completely separated, which was very interesting because usually they just have the stages one next to the other and they go back and forth and back and forth. That's how it was in Knotfest and Punk Spring, and it's convenient in that you don't have to go to different places, but it is annoying because you hear the sound check while the other band is playing, so that's kind of a trade-off, I guess. So my friend was already in YOASOBI, who who is the most odd placed band in this festival. The whole festival is very rock, metal. Yoasobi is kind of like a more poppy band. Super popular though, so everybody was there. Which meant that hardly anybody was waiting at the Hanabie stage, which caused me to be way closer than I initially intended on being. I could have been at the barrier if I wanted because nobody was there, but I did not want to die. So I decided to stand next to the soundboard, basically. They separated the crowd, or the would-be crowd, with like Moses. There was this barrier in the middle that had basically allowed for photographers to go in, for the band members to go and walk around if they wanted to safely. And then there's the soundboard, and then like there's a free area behind. And so I decided to stand between the barrier and the soundboard. So I was in like the back corner, and I was sitting there waiting because there was still like 30 minutes until the show started. And slowly but surely people started settling in. There were some very friendly looking people around me. It's very much the, oh yeah, we're hearing the same thing, but no conversation because talking to people is weird. And then I'm gonna show occasionally some videos here. They're not the greatest because I suck at filming, but you will realize very quickly that I am not a tall person. And while in Japan I am probably very average, people have grown tall in this country, especially men. And so of course, the tallest man in existence will come and stand right in front of me. And he did that, and I look around and the people around me are like, you know, what you gonna do? It's c'est la vie. And yeah, that's what it was. But it was like 5 minutes before the show started. I was standing up at this point, and just as the show started, the guy turns around and he's like, do you want to stand in front of me? And I'm like, oh, thank you. And that's when I realized like everyone around me was extremely kind and super friendly and nice. And that was just a nice place to be at because my friends weren't able to reach me in time before the show started, so they ended up being in the back. And so I was by myself. And so, before I start, during the sound check for Hanabie, it was the first time that I've actually witnessed a band perform their own sound check. So Hanabie themselves came out and were testing the microphones and their own guitars, and people were like, yay, you know, you got this, and like, you check that sound. And it was really entertaining and cute, so that was fun. And so yeah, the show started, and overall they played 8 songs, some of which I knew, some of which I didn't. You know, I prepared, but not like I didn't study for an exam. I can tell you, by the way, I made a playlist of the bands that I saw, of the set list of the bands that I saw on Spotify. I'll share it in the description box if you want to listen and have a good time. But Something Galaxy, Neat Game, Kotoshi Koso Garu, Warning, the Sweets song, Toso, Osaki ni Shimasu, and Want to Tie Up. That's the songs that they played. The crowd was insane. They were so hyped up. These metal shows, don't let anybody tell you different. Japanese people in rock and metal shows go just as hard as any other country, okay? Just because they're a little more polite doesn't mean that they don't crowd surf or mosh or do all of the good stuff, okay? They do it. They have a great time doing it, and people were flying all over. There were circle pits all over. It was hilarious, honestly. I just love circle pits. I just love people who decide, you know what, we're just gonna run in a circle, and they do, and I love it. It's my favorite kind. It's the one that I would actually consider partaking in because it's not violent, and I don't think I would die. But anyway, people were crowd surfing. Things were being thrown in the air. There were like stick lights and towels, and I don't know. But yeah, at the end, the show ended and it was great. The girls were fantastic. They sounded great. They looked great. They had a great time. The crowd was cheering them on. It was a really, really great show. I'm really happy I got to see them. And the show ended, and people around me were like, yeah, it was a good time. And one of them, like, you know, came up to me in English and told me, you know, have fun. And that was really sweet. And I was just like, I feel so welcome here. This is great. Usually I'm just ignored because I'm just another person in the crowd, and that's perfectly fine, you know. As long as nobody's hostile towards me, I don't care. I'm here just to have a good time. And then I saw people coming out from like closer to the stage, and they were drenched in water. And again, this show ended at like 1:10. It's the third band of the day. We still have a whole day to go through, and you're already dying. Pace yourselves. But they were drenched drenched in sweat. And I was like, kind of nasty, very impressive. Go take a shower, stay away from me. That was the start for me of Nex Fest. And so after that, my friend and I decided we were very hungry and we wanted Cubanos. Well, I wanted Cubanos and I insisted on having Cubanos because I've been dreaming of the damn Cubano for a week. You see, there is a Cuban restaurant in Shibuya called Cafe Habana. Why is it with a B? I don't know. And they sell Cuban sandwiches, which makes perfect sense. And for whatever reason, they have, I think, a contract with Creative Man Productions, which is the production company that made all of the festivals I mentioned. This one, Knot Fest, Punk Spring, they're in charge of those. And I guess they have a contract with them because they're always there. And they're not in the food trucks area, but they're actually in the main stage area. And they're also able to exchange your drink ticket. So they have a strong collaboration with the production company. And their sandwiches are really good and they hit the spot. So I really wanted it. But again, the lines. So the line for that one, I think it took us like a good 30 minutes to go through it. But since it was in the main stage area, we ended up listening to I Prevail. And they're a perfectly good band, more screamy than I personally enjoy. But halfway through, they decided that, you know what, screw it. And they did a cover of Limp Bizkit's Break Stuff, and we had a great time. That was so good. That was perfectly placed. Wonderful. Ended up getting my Cubano. And then we decided to go, we still had some time. We went outside to eat. And that's when I realized there were a ton of kids. Babies. Like, well, not tiny babies, but like toddlers. And I'm talking about like 5-6-year-olds to 10-year-olds. And most of them were not wearing any hearing protection, which was driving me crazy. Because I have no problem with little kids being there. Hook them while they're young. Get them into metal. That's fine. But especially since Babymetal was performing and you're like, okay, fine. But yeah, like no, I only saw a couple of kids with actual headphones on. And that was very, very concerning. Because even when we were outside, the music was extremely loud. So that was frustrating to see because I want them to have a good time, but I did not want them to go deaf because of it. Then we went to check on the goods line again, and it was no longer the giant snake, but it was still quite massive. And we're like, no, we are not missing Maximum the Hormone for a t-shirt. By the way, that giant snake line that in the beginning apparently was 2 hours for a t-shirt. To be fair, there was the tour goods, but there were like individual bands goods as well. And Maximum the Hormone stuff always sells out because they have strong design sense. And just like their music has everything, their t-shirts has everything. It's quite chaotic. So yeah, that was that. Time for Maximum the Hormone. Yay! And unfortunately, like I mentioned in my Maximum the Hormone reaction, they're not on Spotify. So they're not on my playlist. Anyway, they also played a bunch of songs, and to be honest, it always sounds like they're playing 20 songs when they're in fact playing like 6 because each of their songs is like 3 songs in one. So they played the big ones. They played the Death Note song, What's Up People, which I'm pretty sure at this point is their most cohesive song. It stays in the same genre throughout, so that they played the new America song, and I finally checked out the lyrics. So ladies and gentlemen, the correct lyrics were in fact peanuts. We learned something new. Also super like deep and meaningful lyrics, but peanuts. And they were amazing as always. They're always a great time. And I'm kind of happy that it was like Hanabie and Maximum the Hormone because after you guys told me that Hanabie is a Maximum the Hormone cover band, well, started as a cover band, I was like, oh, everything connects and makes sense now. So that was fun. And then we got to rest a little bit and we decided to exchange our drink tickets. And that's when we stood in a 40-minute drink ticket line. The problem is, here's the thing. You get the one drink ticket, but most people don't drink one drink. They go back and drink more. So the exchange of like a drink ticket for a drink is relatively easy. But once you put cash into it or whatever form of payment that requires payment, things take longer. And then they ended up having like 2 lines per one server, we'll call it. And so you ended up doing this weird zigzag thing. And so the lines were extra long and it took forever. And that official bar area was by the church stage. So we ended up listening to VMO's set. And I'm sorry for all the VMO fans. I hated every minute of it. That was actually painful for me. It was so loud. It was the best way for me to describe it is metal EDM, which sounds actually pretty cool, but it was not. The bass thumping went in my chest. I felt it everywhere in the worst way. I thought I was dying. It was extremely painful. And like they had a ton of fans, so good for them. Best of luck. I'm not gonna be one of them. Jesus Christ. No. No. And unfortunately, because of the line of the drink, and I really needed something to drink, we missed the start of Yungblud's set, but we joined in and it was Yungblud, so it was perfectly fine. And his energy is unrivaled and he is so much fun to watch and I absolutely adore him. So he ended up singing 10 songs. He sang a bunch of songs that I do know and a couple that I don't. I just love how many of Yungblud's songs remind me of other songs, not in a bad way. It's just kind of like new generation of those songs, right? Like Fleabag sounds like Teenage Dirtbag. Low Life sounds like Loser. The Funeral has a very, very strong My Chemical Romance vibe. It's great. It's great. I love every second of it. And he was incredible, and he also ended up bringing Ollie Sykes from Bring Me the Horizon to sing the song Happier, and that was really, really fun. And then it was break time, and then it was Babymetal time. And I was actually slightly worried because looking at band t-shirts around throughout the day, the Babymetal presence was strong. But we were actually further in the back, and everybody was super nice, and it was perfectly fine. I did not enjoy the Babymetal set as much as I thought I would, which was kind of sad. They sang great songs. They basically started with Gimme Chocolate and then went for Papaya, which I was like, oh, we're going on a food theme, and I'm just like hoping we just keep going. But no, then it was Distortion and then BMC, Maya. I was very, very happy that they sang their new song with Tom Morello, Metali, which is really good. I really like that song. It's really great. And then also Megitsune, which was my personal favorite. So very, very happy about that. My gripe, my issue with their performance is they do this thing. They're not the only ones, but they take long pauses between songs. And it's good for them. They get to rest and catch their breath and do that. For me, who is already exhausted because it is the fourth band of the day and one before last, and my legs are on fire and I just want to die, those pauses remind me that I'm in pain. And I like every time I start to get into it and then we pause. And then so I never go right in and stay in the like, I'm having so much fun, I'm forgetting my pain situation, which is unfortunate, obviously. But they sounded great, they looked great, and everybody seemed to have an incredible time. So who am I to complain? I think it will be more fun to watch their own concert and have a seat. But yes, then we had another break before Bring Me the Horizon, and I decided that was the last chance. I knew it was the last chance to check on the goods. And so we went out to the goods area, and lo and behold, there was no line. So we ran to the t-shirts, and they still had our sizes. I got a t-shirt, yay! And mission accomplished. I felt super smart. Then we just kind of rested outside because the thing with having an indoor festival, on the one hand, you're sheltered from the elements, which is wonderful. But on the other hand, it is just a giant box of humidity and sweat. And it was really stifling to be in there. So we went out, and apparently there was a 10th anniversary Final Fantasy XIV orchestral event happening or something in another area of this giant complex, and they had fireworks. So we got to see some fireworks. I was like, yay, fireworks, hey! And so we saw the fireworks, went back inside and watched Bring Me the Horizon. Here's a funny thing about Bring Me the Horizon. I was sure that before this festival, when I started to listen actively to Bring Me the Horizon, that I've never listened to them before. And I was wrong because I have. A lot. Well, one specific song repeatedly for a couple of years now. And I never noticed for whatever reason, or like I didn't connect the dots, that it was a Bring Me the Horizon song. And so I'm looking around and I'm realizing like they have a very, very strong cult vibe. Not in the bad thing, like as in branding. Like they are trying to make it look like a cult. The fan club member area, like you could buy a t-shirt that said cult member. And so their stage is looking like a giant church with Star of David in the middle, but sure, like a church. There's like this whole storyline thread going through the concert, and they had, being the headliners, they had like an hour and a half concert, like a full show, and unfortunately we weren't able to stay all the way through if we wanted to survive the way home, because both me and my friend, we live around an hour and a half away to 2 hours, so it's just, but anyway, they sang a whole bunch of songs. I'm not gonna count them, it's like 15 songs or something, but then they reached the song Mantra, and I'm like, because I've been listening to this song for a couple years now and I really like it, but I never, for whatever reason, realized that it's a Bring Me the Horizon song. I don't know why. Like, I do pay attention to who plays the songs that I like, but I don't know why it completely evaporated from my head. So I was like, the dots, they connect. The mantras, because, you know, mantra is like, do you want to start the cult with me? That's literally the first sentence of the song. So I felt real stupid, but whatever. They gave an epic set. I got to see them play Obey with Yungblud, but my friend and I were like, we need to get out of here by like 8:45 if we want to avoid the rush of everybody leaving at the same time to go on one train. And this specific train line, there's a train every 20 minutes or so, especially at night, and it was a holiday, so just like, if we don't catch a train, we'll be stuck here. And so we were like, okay, we're hoping that they would play Kingslayer with Babymetal before we leave, but unfortunately they didn't, because they saved it for the encore, so we didn't see that. We were able to leave at 8:45 and get on a train that was already not crowded. I'm not gonna say crowded, but we stood for the majority of it. And thankfully, Kaihin Makuhari, which is the name of the station, if you're going towards Tokyo, is before Maihama Station, which is the Disneyland station. These events end at the same time. By these events, I mean Disneyland closes at 9 p.m. and so, and the concert ended around 9:10. This means, imagine this, you are back from Disneyland, you're exhausted, you have all of your things, you know, you bought a bunch of presents, you have your Mickey Mouse ears, you have a stroller because you have a 3-year-old that you took to Disneyland on, you know, for whatever reason, because I don't know what they do there, and you're exhausted, you just want to go home, and the train passes and it's jam-packed with metalheads. What do you do? So I don't understand why they don't increase trains for events, but I'm not a train conductor and I don't manage JR, so that's on them. But it does mean that those poor people probably couldn't go into the train. And thankfully on our train, at least most of them were able. I don't know if all of them, but it got real crowded, and then we were like, things trickle down once you get closer to Tokyo. So that was that, thankfully. But that is why. It doesn't always happen, but it is always something to consider when you go to concert. At least in Japan, the trains do not run 24/7. So you have to consider the last train issue. So the further out you live, the earlier you have to get out, which is also why Japanese concerts in general start way earlier than what you might expect. We're talking about like 5-6 p.m. because everything has to end around 9 or so. So it's not the first time that I've had to leave a concert early. From Makuhari Messe specifically, I tend to leave like a couple songs earlier because I can't do that train. Extremely painful experience. That was Bring Me the Horizons and Bring Me the Horizons Festival, Nex Fest. And I had an extremely great time, albeit being dead and my neck not moving the next day. I hope this was fun for you to watch and listen to. And like I said, let me know if you want to see more of these. I do actually have written concert reports that I've had in the past in my blog that I haven't updated since COVID. You can check those out there. Like I said, the playlist will be in the description. Thanks as always for watching. Please like, subscribe, and do all the things. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!